And I think that is the difference of everything. If you lose yourself in the journey to create wealth, to create a business, to create anything in life, you will never truly be fulfilled.
Welcome back to the Dark Work Podcast. Today's guest is Candy Valentino. Now, she is a unique breed, and here's why. Most individuals who go through hardships as children, they don't make much of themselves. Statistically, you'll find that most people end up in prison or jail or doing these kind of crazy things that aren't beneficial to society. On the flip side, she grew up in a trailer park and has made multiple millions of dollars, but also impacted millions of lives. And this is not a thing that is accidental. It was intentionally done. But the cool thing is we unpack in this episode how it was done, how she became who she is, what she did, how she did it. So if you've ever wanted to start a business, ever wanted to grow your life to another place, to go through the hardships that actually come out in the backside better than you were entering into them, today's episode is going to unpack more than just a story, but also some steps of what you can do. We talk about a proof paper, which is an interesting little concept I never heard of until our episode, but it's one that I think all of us should do, but also be able to be good with yourself. I think sometimes we're waiting for that next piece of permission or some celebration to go take the next step to build our cool lives, and really, you just got to be your own cheerleader. And when you can accept that and lean into that, you'll find that that's honestly the best cheerleader you could probably ever have. So without further ado, let's dive into the episode. Welcome back to the Dark Work Podcast. I'm excited to bring a guest to you today. In fact, the studio that you see that we're sitting in now, I only know about it because of this person. We have an interesting, roundabout way we connected back when I was just, we'll call it a stagehand kind of guy, just volunteering and doing things. And so we kind of met in that world that I was in. And over the years, I've kind of watched her grow and create some cool things. And now we're going to dive into her story because not only has she accomplished amazing things, she's gone through a dark work experience, which we all talk to. This whole show is about this, that you'll be able to see why she shines the way she does. So, Candy Valentino, how are you doing?
I'm great, Anthony.
Thank you for coming.
Much for having me.
Yeah. Just because it was like a last minute thing too. I was trying to get guests out here, and people like to cancel when you do in person. It's a lot of fun. And so I was like, hey, can we get people? And I didn't even think of it. I feel bad because I didn't think about the fact that you're out here.
Yeah.
And I was on your show out here, you know? Wild. But anyways, here's what I love to do. I like to start the whole concept, right? The whole Dark Work Podcast about the things you've done in the dark that allow you to shine in the light. Before I dive into that, I'd love to know what we were talking about it briefly, what does the light of your life right now look like? Where are you shining the most and we'll just say proud of the most that you've accomplished so far?
I mean, right now, I feel like I've been able to just take all of the experience and all of the dark work, to your point, that I've done over the last 25 years. And now I'm just able to help other people find their way, minimize pain, suffering, expense, mistakes, and just really shine light on what actually works. I think that there's a lot of noise in the space right now, and all the things you hear on social media, and a lot of them are BS. And so I like to cut through a lot of that to really help people. So I've got books, I've got a show coming out, all kinds of really amazing things that I really wouldn't have been able to do on my own, awesome. Like I shared with you.
Beautiful. And it's true. A lot of people, I was talking earlier, I was like, if you watch social media, apparently we can't eat anything but water.
Oh my God.
Everything's going to kill you. Everything's bad. And bread's the devil. It's all this craziness. So it is, because you watch the world. I think some people are trying to find a way to make a name for themselves. So they try to be the most, just rambunctious craziness stuff going on, or just be very loud and just say things that don't make sense. But I get that. And I like that you're talking to cut into the stuff. What is your, let's do this. I don't usually do this with most people. I'd love for you to give a backstory briefly, because I can't recount it the way that you probably can. I know there's a lot of depth and power to it. So if you can kind of recount, for the most part, your backstory that kind of led you into entrepreneurship, which happened young, which is kind of cool. And then we'll kind of dive into where I want to go with the conversation.
Yeah, so I grew up in a trailer, teenage parents, on government assistance. My dad was a mechanic, my mom cleaned houses. And so I just watched two people work really hard. But I also realized that there was another life. I was exposed to personal development cassette tapes, because this was back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I had heard that you're not a product of your circumstances and you can change your life in an instant. And it just really resonated with me on a deep level. And I thought, wow, that was just the permission that I needed to go do something that I really wanted to do with my life. So when I was 18, graduated high school, was going to go to college, and then I realized that I was going to take on debt, and I was not going to be much further along because the starting position for the career that I wanted was $33,000.
Gotcha.
And I thought, well, that's not going to cut it. So what can I do? And so I read a few books, and I was just a product of that because I didn't have a lot of external guidance. So I always had to kind of go internal to really pause and listen to my instinct to figure things out. And so I started a business at 19 with an SBA loan. I had a 6-week run rate, and I had to figure it out. And I started with 7 employees.
What was
So
the
talk
business?
about leverage. I started a spa back when there weren't
Really?
any. The closest spa in our area was
Yeah.
over an hour and a half away. And I remember thinking,
Yeah.
if these things work there, why couldn't they work here? And I was just naive enough to try.
Yeah.
And I thought, what do I have, that I can be successful? I really didn't have anything, but I could lean on other people's successes and experiences until I developed my own.
Gotcha.
So that's what I started doing. And then we became really successful. I made more money than anybody I had known at that time. Started other businesses, started investing in real estate by the time I was 20. I started a nonprofit at 26. I mean, just such a crazy 20-year journey.
Yeah.
But when I started that first business, I decided that I wanted to make work optional.
Okay.
Because I'd watched my dad in his garage work all the time. Like he missed everything that I had at, in school. He just missed everything because he was constantly working. And I thought, what if you do it differently? What if you build a business that you could still have a life and freedom so that you can truly do whatever it is that you want? And so I made work optional before I turned 40, and that was my original goal.
How was that received by people in your family? Like, because obviously, you stick out like a sore thumb.
I still do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was it. It's not received well, but here's the one thing I want, and hopefully everyone can hear this and hear my heart in this, because I mean this with the most amount of love. Don't ever let the family that you come from dictate the family you create. Don't ever let the life that you come from dictate the life that you want to create.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was so hard to go against the grain because people seek sameness. But thankfully, I don't know how, I've just always been a little bit of a challenging personality.
Yeah.
I just knew that this is where I was supposed to go, and I know I'm going to seek pain, but if you choose to do the hard things, you're going to have it hard either way.
Yeah, you
So
should.
just do the hard things that you know is right, that are just, that is really what you want to create with your life, and be willing to have the discipline and do the work to get there.
I like that. I'm going to go back to my years because I grew up poor too. My mom used to clean my grandma's houses. My grandma was real estate, and my dad had a pipe fitting job, welding. And I grew up, and I don't know if it's maybe your same journey, but I didn't think that people who had money were good people. And so I actually battled the money conversation, turning up like, I'm not even joking. I genuinely thought that you had to do something like evil to people to make $1 million.
See, now I had a little bit of that in my family, but thankfully I was dropped off at my dad's garage every day of my life from kindergarten until I could drive.
Yeah.
So instead of doing sports, I was learning business.
Yeah.
So I ran the phone and
figure
the typewriter and interacted with the clients and kept people company. So for me, I noticed that there were like a lot of rich people based on the cars that they drove that my dad worked on.
Yeah.
And I was like, they were all really nice to me,
Yeah.
and they were all really kind. So I had a little bit of a different experience, and somewhere along the way, I just figured out that, and this is something that maybe I can articulate better as an adult, but it's like money magnifies whoever you are.
Yeah.
So the people that were really kind and really generous, I mean, I would have his clients bringing me in gifts because they know we didn't have a lot.
Yeah.
And then there were people that were big jerks, but I never thought that the common denominator was the money because I had seen both sides.
That's pretty good. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a cool thing to have at that age, to be able to see. It's almost like the rich dad, poor dad idea, right? To
Exactly.
an extent of like
Exactly.
seeing one side and the other side.
Yeah.
So and we kind of bypass this, and I'd love to dig into it more because the journey of entrepreneurship is a tough one. Because you do, not only are you having to cut out, this new pocket of like, my family sees me as like, I'm sure they're like, what are you thinking? Who are you to
Who
do
do you
that,
think
right?
you are? Yeah.
Right? There's that side of it. There's also this new world of like learning. I love that you said I was getting insight from people that had gone down the journey already. As you're building this spa, like what are some of the things you run into? Because there's 7 different personalities of the employees you have, dealing with landlords and building things out. I'm sure all these new things you had to learn. I know the journey of it. What was that like for you? Because I think that sometimes becomes the barrier for folks. Sounds great to open a spa. Like,
Yeah.
if I can get a loan, but like, how do I get a loan? What if I can't pay it back? How do I do with these people? Like all these things. Like,
Yeah.
how did you face them? Was it like a day-by-day thing? You just kind of muster up the strength and move through it? Like, what was that journey like for you?
So first I had a lot of leverage. So I was able to, if I did not succeed, I was not going to be able to pay back that loan. And I just promised 7 people who came to work for me at 19 years old that I was going to have a job. So I always say, make promises to other people that forces your highest self to rise up.
Interesting.
I was not the strongest leader. I was not the best business person. I was 19. How could I be? But I just made promises to other people that forced me to rise up to the occasion. And I think entrepreneurs, when you put your back against the wall and you are committed to a goal, to some level of success, that force, it's almost like, it's like when you put all of the weight on one side of it, that force just magnifies your exponential momentum and return. And so I've been able to do that throughout my life when I didn't know what to do. Like, think about, I finally mastered business and then I started a nonprofit. Like, I had no business starting a nonprofit. I figure out service-based businesses and then I start product manufacturing and brick and mortar and retail and e-commerce, right? I didn't have any clue how to do that. But I think the most important part is you got to have belief in your own ability. And when people are working for you, or you've got team members or clients, you sometimes have to be so delusional in your belief so that other people believe in that dream. You've got to sell the dream. And so I think I was so focused with true intention of what we were going to build. Team members that were twice my age were joining us because they saw that we were unique, a pioneer, and that we were really going places.
I love that. And you do have to be crazy.
You do.
Because I always tell them, like, either you got to be so crazy they question either they're crazy or they're right.
Yes.
And if they don't think you're genuinely crazy, like they're like, oh, they're right, they'll get on board. But if you don't have an ooze that, it's difficult. Where'd you develop that, though?
So I was fortunate, 15 years old, I was exposed to Tony Robbins on those cassette tapes.
That's what it was.
And so I obsessively listened to them over and over and over again. And then I also watched my dad, who had an 8th grade education, who couldn't really spell, couldn't read or write very well. I was helping him in a lot of those areas, trying to, like, write the invoices for him, and as I went through school. And I just watched him figure it out. Like, nobody ever showed him how to turn a wrench or how to fix a car, and he just figured it out. So I guess I applied that a little bit, like, well, I guess that just means that we can figure out anything in life. And so I just had that belief. And then I was able to see so many other people in my life and just hear that they didn't have all the answers, so I don't need all the answers either. But I can focus on what I can control, and that is my hard work, my effort, my discipline, and my commitment. And nobody can take those from you. And those are the things that actually make the difference. And now that I write books and do all these things, like, I have all the data to support. It doesn't matter your educational pedigree. It doesn't matter the family that you came from. It doesn't matter whatever beliefs of the environment, of the people that you lived with. What it's determined by is your commitment and your discipline. And those are all things that we can control, which is why I think entrepreneurship is so beautiful.
I agree. It's funny. I think of my daughter when you say those things. I was just at the house of the day. We bought our house 3 years ago when we live in. I remember, like, the rooms were weird colors. Like, whoever owned it before, like, they liked pastels. It's like pastel purple and, like, pink, and my daughter's room was green. I remember walking back a couple days ago. I go, did Tatum paint her? Because my daughter's Tatum. I said, did Tatum paint her room? And I goes, yeah. She just one day just started painting it. And I go, the thought that she felt it was okay, like, just throw paint on the wall. It sounds so simple, but, like, she's like, I can do this. Because she'll just do things. And I think for me, it's awesome. And then another thought, separate from that stream of thought, was this idea of what you talked to, and I don't know where I heard it recently, but it says, life responds to effort. And I've always looked back at my life, and I've gone, like, because people, I'm the same as you. I do weird things. I'm the weird friend, according to my friends. Like, we do the weird, move out of the country, start a podcast. You're the weird friend. And I go, I guess so, but I look and I go, that rings true. Like, my life has responded to the effort I choose to put out, which I say that because I want to lead into the next question for you, because you started a bunch of different things. Most people go, I'm going to do this, and they do that. And they run that for 30, 40 years, and they pop off, they give it to the family and press on, right? What was the thing that drove you to keep trying something new?
So I wanted to keep increasing my income. Nothing crazy or great. Like, I just wanted to make more money. And so I'm a data nerd, so I love analyzing data and facts and figures and charts and reports. And so I would start seeing things and just observing. And I think the other thing, back to your original question, is when you don't have a lot of guidance in your family, and somebody isn't showing you the way, you have to figure out the way.
You have to.
So that's the other thing that I did throughout all of this in my life, is because I never really had that guidance, I had to figure it out. And then when I figured it out, I realized, well, that wasn't so bad. I can just do this next thing. So when I was in business and I'm like, okay, I nailed this. I got, clients. I think we had a team of maybe 30 or 40 at the time. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm buying all these products. I have all these clients that are asking my opinion on these products. Rather than selling somebody else's products, what if we develop our own products? Because if Paul Mitchell can develop his own products, why can't we?
He was homeless at one point, wasn't he?
John Paul, I believe he was, So we just started, again, figuring it out. And then it's like, it's asking the right questions. I think our brains are so incredibly huge of what it can filter through information on. So it's all of the right questions. And it's like, well, if I was going to do that, how would I do that? And who would I reach out to? And who has done that before? And then in my early 20s, I got involved in a women's business group because this is, think, late 90s, early 2000s. There wasn't, like, female entrepreneurship until 1980. 1988, women weren't even able to get a business bank account or a loan without a husband or father's
88?
signature. 1988.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
So imagine only 11 years after the fact. That's the only reason I knew about the SBA was because there were people from banks coming into businesses and telling us, hey, if you need any money, we're trying to give it to minorities. I had to go do a pitch in front of college to get that first loan.
Interesting.
So I think it's all about observing data
Yeah.
in our life, and it's about asking the right questions. And so when I started to look at ways to grow, it was like, well, what else could I do instead of just doing this one thing, but utilize what I've already built in order to leverage success more quickly?
I like that. How'd you get the stomach for this? And I say it in this sense. The things you're stating, I'm trying to listen through the ears of someone who's completely oblivious to, right? And so yet you have a stomach for risk, apparently, but also you mitigate the risk by knowing, right? How'd you develop that stomach? And I know it's doing the actions of it, but here's what I want to know. What were some of the battles you fought that weren't the funnest? Because I feel like those are the things that made me go like, all right, I overcame that, like, I got something in me. Like, what are some of the hard points you faced in this journey?
Oh my gosh. I mean, going back to 19, like coming up on week 4 and not knowing if I was going to pay that loan back.
Yeah.
Like coming up with employee issues that I had no idea how to deal with. You know, I never even worked. I worked one job prior to starting a business.
Your dad, yeah.
So I had no indication of how to actually run and operate a team. So I absolutely came across, especially as a female, being that young, every single person that walked in, hi, where's the owner? Oh,
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
No, come on, where's your husband? You know, like just assuming. So I had to come up with that. I had to walk into rooms, especially when I started flipping properties at 20. I had to work with construction men, huge teams of men.
Yeah.
I was completely underestimated every single job site that I went into, every single boardroom that I would enter. And there's actually a beauty. So if anyone's listening to this and is like, yeah, I'm always underestimated, good. There is a beauty to being underestimated because when you're underestimated, people don't expect much of you.
Yes, if you
So
don't
all
do
you have
that.
to do is be slightly prepared, and
yeah.
all of a sudden they're blown away. And so for me, it was being prepared. Preparedness was number one. It's like when you look at the greatest athletes in the world, nobody just shows up on the field
no.
and starts and ends up in the Super Bowl. They are practicing, they are preparing, they are implementing. And the other thing I noticed was a lot of people are really great at ideation, but most people fail at execution and implementation. So I thought, instead of having more ideas, what if I just implement and execute more and have less ideas than everybody else? Will that work? And then again, just finding the data, looking at the patterns, and just rinse and repeating on what actually worked.
That's great. I agree. There's a statement I heard, might have been from Jim Quick, and he says, the mark of a successful person is can they translate an idea rapidly into action.
Because how many people do we know that says, oh, I had that best invention idea,
Yeah.
but so-and-so came up with it? That's right.
Yeah.
That's because
They didn't
they
move on it.
implemented and executed on it.
Yeah.
So ideas aren't going to change our lives. Our ideas aren't going to change our bank accounts. It's the implementation and execution of the idea that will.
Yeah. So it says you progress through like the journey of the business thing, right? You're obviously taking, I believe that as you get an idea and you act, you get new ideas, you get new information or new ideas of how to be able to execute on something. As you got through like, you know, kind of the years and built up the nonprofit around 26, you had mentioned, started doing real estate. What do you find with some of the things that were open to your mind that weren't previously there? Meaning what was like a new thought or a new idea that you're like, man, I never thought of this when I was 19, but I'm glad I know it now and built. Because I find the momentum and the stacking of things over time for me has been a huge thing. Like I have ideas now that I'm like, I'm glad I got this idea now. I would have ruined it 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Did you see like over the years anything pop up?
So in business specifically, I'll speak to that. So in business specifically, I noticed that rather than just building the business, that I could use the business as a vehicle to create additional cash flowing assets. I didn't know that in 19. I knew that around 25. I had started flipping some properties 21, 22, 23, but didn't quite realize that if I used the business as a way to generate more cash flow, extract the profit, and then flip that into an additional cash flowing asset, that I could build my entire net worth portfolio larger than just my business bottom line. So that was something that I realized. And again, once I realized that, I was like, okay, so let's just make the business highly profitable. Let's make sure that we have a great product, great processes, great people, and great profit, so that I can use that profit and leverage it so that I can maximize my personal net worth. That was one thing I learned that I didn't really realize until I started doing it. Because growing up in a trailer, like, you wanted a new car, you wanted a fancy watch, you wanted the shoes, right? Because those are the things you didn't have. And what I realized really quickly were those things would give you a quick pop of happiness. But the second you drove it off the lot, the second you wore it for the first time, it fades. And I know you know this too, and it fades fast. And the more you have, the faster it fades. And what I realized was that I actually really loved stacking assets. I loved being able to see my portfolio grow, my bottom line grow, because what I knew was that the more money I made, the more I could give. I could give to kids at risk youth, I could give to animals that needed help. It's why I started the nonprofit. So for me, I started to see that. I didn't know that was going to happen, but I didn't realize how much contribution was going to make the whole entire journey and all the hard work worth it. Because when I started that nonprofit, it gave me new life to want to build the business bigger, to want to have more profit, to want to create more things because I could have more impact with it.
I like that. And I operate in the same space. I live well below my means.
Yeah.
And very intentionally. For me, I'm like, I don't even need, I wear some of the same stuff I had in NFL, which was like 10 years ago. And it's not, I'm not like, look at me, I wear junk. It's just that I found that for me, like I get why they say like, rich dad, poor dad conceptually is like, those who have money don't look like it.
I know.
Because there's a different place of fulfillment. I don't need rims on my car nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't need a big crazy stereo because what am I have? You look at my car? Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's one side. I do want to ask this question though, because I find as we go through this journey of the building of the business and doing different things, there's always that statement that says you can never grow a business more than you grow yourself. Along this path, where'd you find that maybe you personally were faced with things that forced you to grow? There's different things that I know I had to face, but I'm curious what yours might have been.
Well, you know what, just transparently, some of the areas, I feel like in life we can nail certain areas and then we fail in certain areas.
Yeah.
And I think for me, coming up in the family that I grew up in and not having a lot of relational experiences, for me, my greatest challenge wasn't in business where most people are. Most people can do the family, they can have a marriage, they can have a great relationship, and they never quite get their finances right, or they never quite get the business off the ground. The business for me was my escapism. I was able to be who I needed to be for all of these people, and I almost was able to step outside of who I actually was in the moment. But for me, a lot of the mistakes happened in relationally. Like I worked so much, I didn't necessarily look for the right things in a partner. I got married and it wasn't a great marriage and we weren't focused and aligned on the right things. And so that was definitely a learning experience. The other thing I always say is that your net worth will never outrank your knowledge. So for me, I was always diving into books. I was always being around other people. The women's business group that I was in, I barely got a seat at the table. Like you had to be doing 2 million to just get there.
Yeah.
And I was like barely at the table. And there were women there doing 30 million, 50 million, $200 million in their companies. So then it shows you, wow, this is what's possible.
Yeah.
And that really helps you level up your knowledge and your exposure, because otherwise $1 million was the benchmark for me until I realized that you could do 10, you can do 50, and you can do 100. But where I think people get lost along the way is they focus on what they actually want and not who they become in the journey. And I think that is the difference of everything. If you lose yourself in the journey to create wealth, to create a business, to create anything in life, you will never truly be fulfilled. It's who you become that gives you such confidence that you can go create a new thing or write a book in 3 weeks or whatever it is that you want to do, because you already have the data to support that you've done hard things and this is nothing compared to what you overcome.
I love it. I'm gonna pause there because I want to take a little break and I want to come back and unpack all of what you just said. That's the whole point of this podcast. We're gonna take a break. We'll see you in a moment. Where are you falling short of your full potential in life, and what is it costing you? See, one thing we rarely measure is the cost of our inaction. See, there's so many things set for your life that if you don't lean in and get them done, they're going to pass you by. And the truth is, it's not because you don't know what to do. It's because you are not at the level to do it. You cannot attain or sustain a vision for your life above your current identity. But what is your current identity? What should you do to make a shift in that identity? Well, the goal is you have to do the dark work, but the right dark work. To figure out where your identity is now and what dark work you must do, go to darkworkassessment.com, take the assessment, and let it clear the path for you so you can find out how to shift into your dominator's identity with a mentality of, I have done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. darkworkassessment.com, figure out where you're at. Let's get back to the episode. Welcome back. We're going to dive in deeper. Here's the thing. This whole podcast is all about the dark work you do that allows you to shine in the light. And really that dark work, it wires you neurologically and pathologically at an identity level to become somebody more. So Candy, we were talking about becoming somebody, right? I want to unpack that. How would you say that over the years, like obviously you know you're different, like you probably couldn't put yourself back into the headspace of that 19-year-old
Yeah.
girl. And it's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
How would you describe your identity of who you were back then compared to who you would pretty much describe yourself as now?
Well, I love that you talk about identity because I think that it is often missed when we talk about different concepts in life and evolving. And I think it's so key because if we just become the environment, the family, the dynamic, the community of where we were born and just landed, we don't actually decide who we want to become. I think that life happens to you instead of you creating your life.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was very intentional about even the way literally the way I taught people. I was like, where are you from? Even people where I'm from, like outside of Pittsburgh, they're like, you don't talk like that. Like, so I've been very intentional about making sure that the way that I'm an orator and the way that I communicate and the way that I listen to people, it's all very intentional because otherwise you just become a product of your environment and not a product of your decisions. And so once I learned that we could become a product of our decisions, I was like, well, I just need to create new decisions, to create different behaviors, to create different habits, to create a different reality. And once I had that down in business, I realized I can duplicate it anywhere, be a friend, be a partner, be a daughter, however I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So I think that the identity piece is so important. And I think who I was back then, I was just trying to get by, as opposed to now being so intentional when I interact with people, really wanting to have a positive effect on people, ripple effects. I always say, you may not be the water that blooms the plant, but you just might be the person that planted the seed. And if you can just plant little seeds of positivity and kindness wherever you go, I just think overall those ripple effects make the world a little bit better.
100% agree. I actually say it all the time. I go, sometimes my job is to plant the seed.
That's
Not,
right.
Like with my kids, my job is to plant a seed.
Yeah.
I may not be the guy to water it.
That's right.
And sometimes they have a seed. It's my job to water, right?
right.
Or kill that seed because it's stupid.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they're kids. Right?
Yeah.
It's just part of it. And I love that language because it's true. Like a lot of the things we go through, we don't have to be here's what I don't like in my world, right? In my cultural world, it's like, I'm so ghetto or, like this whole like ownership to this identity. And I go, but we don't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
There's
right.
a complaint for being that place or experience, yet we will sensationalize something because we come from it.
Yeah.
Like I could easily be like, man, I'm so ghetto. I used to go to the what they call it, the Goodwill, and I would get the bags of clothes that they didn't want to put in the racks. That's what our family did.
Yeah.
Like I could be, but I go, I don't want to embellish that or sensationalize that.
Right.
But then what happens, I think, is when you're in that space, you don't want to be the sore thumb in the tribe.
Yeah.
Right. And so becoming somebody new, I recently heard, might have been Hormozy talked about it, but he says, at a certain point, there's a scary space when you're building something, which I've gone through, I know you have, which is you're part of this tribe. And there's a fear to leave that tribe, but not have one to go into yet.
Yeah.
And you have to build yourself in the dark to become that human, which I was like, man, that's dead on dark work. That's essential what you're talking to what you did. Because while you have people around you and you're becoming this new person, you aren't usually surrounded by people that are like you in the capacity of like every day. It's your employees are there, but you can't tell them everything.
No,
right?
or anything.
Really. Yeah. And so as you're growing, how was that journey becoming, but doing it in a space of becoming almost solo? Because that's really what I think people are afraid of, or they feel that and they go, oh, this is scary, and they revert back to what it was. How'd you stay in that dark journey?
So there was something I always reminded myself of, and this goes completely against what everybody will see and read on social media. The thought that you need cheerleaders and that you need people around you and that you need a girl gang or a tribe is complete garbage. And what it's doing is it's preventing other people from going to accomplish their dreams because they think they need other people to support them.
I agree.
You do not need anybody else to believe in you. You do not need anybody else to support you.
Yeah.
You do not need anyone to champion or cheerlead whatever it is that you're going to do. That is your job. And when you take responsibility for your life, whether it is where it is or it's not where you want it to be, you have so much power to go do anything that you want. Stop relying on other people to support you or cheerlead you or to somehow give you relevance and validation, and lean more on your own ability and your belief. Because I didn't have a lot in the beginning, I had to do that. I forced myself to do that. And thank goodness there was not social media, or I would have thought something was wrong with me.
Yeah.
So I always like to speak against that because I know there are people that are waiting to go build the life that they want to build and go bring whatever it is they want to light because they think they need the validation of other people. And there's also people right now, I see it constantly on social media, that are also seeking that validation and relevance instead of building their character.
Yeah.
When you build your character and you are of somebody that does what you say, you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and you're going to become who you think you should become and who God created you to be, that is where everything's at. And
I
so
agree.
my push at this point in my life, and I don't know who originally said this, I have heard different people say it. I thought these were my own words, but I've heard people say it, is that I don't want to get to the end of my life and look back with regret, realizing that I'm not the woman that I could have become, who God wanted me to be, the amount of people that I could help or support or bless or animals that I could save. That is my greatest fear. And so every single day, even though I don't have to and work is optional and I get to do all these amazing things right now that I'm so grateful for, I still want to show up and stretch and grow and still go do dark work so that I can become the woman that God created me to be.
I love the rant. It's a beautiful rant.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. No, we need that. So I've always
I get
said,
so passionate about it.
In my keynote, I always state, I have this concept where like we talk about there's going to be a deathbed and it's you in the bed and someone walks in, that person's you. And they start telling a story and you realize it's not my life. I go, the last person you want to meet in your deathbed is the person you could have been.
Yeah.
So it's a different stadium, but I don't even know where I came up with that. But I agree. And then you're alluding to with the idea of like by yourself. My wife, my best friend, at many stages in my journey have been like, don't do that. Like my wife was like, stop. Speaking is not a real career. Like you can't just do that.
Yeah.
My best friend's like, bro, it's not a real job, right? And multiple levels. And like with my gym business I had that almost went under, but I built it up.
Yeah.
I had all these moments where that happens. And it's interesting because for me, I look back and go, I don't know what it would have been like to go the opposite because it wasn't wired in me to do that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I've had it worse. Like you come from the trailer park, I come from foster care. I'm like, it could be way worse than what it is.
Way worse.
Like,
This
I'll
is
be okay.
nothing. Yeah, and I think that's when you even look at what would failure be like, even to fail at something in the scheme of things when you've actually done hard stuff is nothing.
Yeah, you're still doing well.
Like seriously, the abuse you've suffered, the abuse I've suffered, I'm going to not make $100 grand on this project or something, or $1 million on this flip. I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But it's if you don't have those experiences in life, you have to force yourself to still have perspective.
Yeah.
And when you have those experiences in life, you need to remember what you've been through. I call it a proof paper. Like every single person that's listening, if you've never heard me speak, do this right now. Like pause this and do this. Pull out a sheet of paper and literally write down every single thing that you have been through in your life, every challenge that you've faced, every adversity you've overcome, everything that was sent to destroy you but didn't. Write it all down. So the next time you go to do something, business, make money, do something hard, you pull out that sheet of paper, you look at your proof paper, and you remember who you are.
Yeah.
And you remember that any of those things could have crippled you. But instead of praying to God, like, why did this happen to me? Why did it not destroy you?
Yeah.
Why are you still here? Why are you still able to show up to your life every day? And that is what I did at a very young age, because I was scared to death at 19 to fail. And then I remembered, I crawled out of a trailer. I crawled out of abuse. I did all these other things. Building a business is nothing.
I get it. I love this concept. In the world of what, I do the identities type stuff, it is taking a look back at all these aspects. And I have this painting on my wall in my studio, and it says, smooth seas never made skilled sailors.
Yes.
Right. And so I look at it and I go, I need to have the skill later on to handle something cool, but I got to try these cool things and I got to fail at them.
Yes.
It's funny, as my son popped into my head was he runs track at the University of Oregon, 110 hurdler. And it was Pac-12s he was running. This was recently. This is like maybe a couple weeks ago. Pac-12s, there's 9 hurdlers going from prelims. 8 will go into finals. Only one's not going to make it. He's like, I think, second or third in the conference the entire year with his times. So he goes out. The first heat goes. They go through. He gets to the second heat. It's him up. There's 4 guys, including himself. He's next to the guy that's leading the conference, and then 2 guys that he beat throughout the year, like time-wise. And all he has to do is just not be last. He takes off, hits the hurdle.
Not be last.
Yeah. Goes over the hurdle. First lead leg goes over, trail leg clips the hurdle. He comes over, stumble. First hurdle of all of them. He had to sit there and run the rest of the race.
No.
He was the 9th guy, the one that didn't go through. And I'm talking, it was tough because he's a great kid, a huge heart. I had no disappointment. I just knew how hard he had worked for that, and I felt the disappointment for him.
Yeah.
And I remember I found him after the race, and just tears burst out. And then in hindsight, I go, but son, you cannot be you won't be a great athlete. 5-10 years from now, you needed this moment.
Yeah.
You needed to fall on your face a little bit. So it's not the end of the world. If this is your problem, it's a great problem to have. And that mentality is one that I think you're awakening to. Is you have to go out and try something at a big level, and you kind of got to stumble sometimes to learn a lesson. But it fires you up differently to move forwards.
Well, if you haven't failed at anything in life, you haven't been trying to do anything new.
True.
So the only way that you can remove failure from your life entirely is to not try, not grow, not stretch, not do anything and just stay exactly where you are. Otherwise, the price of admission is to fail.
Yeah.
It's failure and it's getting back up. That fortitude is what you need to create bigger successes. And that's why it might sound like some line, but to become that person is what you need, because then you learn 10 times more from a failure than you ever will from a success.
100%.
I had so many successes in real estate.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, one after another after another. I was batting 1,000 until I wasn't. And that one failure in real estate taught me so much than the prior 20 years.
Yeah.
Because that one property, I missed things that I didn't even know to look for.
Yeah.
But I'll never miss them again.
Yeah.
But I would have probably if I would have made money on that deal.
Yeah.
So those things are so important, whether it's athlete, business, whatever its situation is, you will learn 10 times more from a failure than a success, but that is the price of admission.
You got to give all to it too.
Yeah.
I have a son, a 14-year-old son who plays football. And this is another thing I want to go back and circle around to. But I've noticed that for him, he doesn't give his all in prep and practice sometimes. And I think it's a protection thing, because if you do and fail, it's like, gosh, I gave all this and failed. It's a heavier loss.
Yeah.
And so a lot of folks, they'll, I tried. Like, did you really though?
Yeah.
Like, did you give your soul to it and then fail?
That's
it's
right.
It's a different heaviness.
Yeah, because they're trying to keep those walls up, because if they go all in and fail, that they think it's somehow, it means that they themselves as a person isn't worthy or isn't capable. But I know so many incredible entrepreneurs that are capable and smart and talented and disciplined, but they were in the wrong business model or the wrong market, or they had the wrong idea at the wrong time. So most times when we are failing, it doesn't actually say who we are as a person.
Yeah.
It just might have been one decision that you just didn't know what you didn't know, and it caused you to just make a trip up. That mistake will not define you unless you stay down. That's the only way it can define who you are.
I fully agree. And I do want to circle back to kind of the rant you went on, which is a beautiful one. Don't apologize. Stop that. Here's why. I have a son, right? And he plays football. The youngest plays football. I played this game. This is my world. And I definitively understand the depth of what needs to get done preparation-wise to show up in the field differently. Yeah. Not just skill set wise, but there needs to be a certain animal in you, because you're going against somebody who it's me and you. And if you have got more prep in the back, you'll outdo me. It's the dark work concept. And so what he does is I go, look, here's what you got to do in prep. You're going to high school, starts this next year. And I go, you're going to go into a place where there's a bunch of kids that want your job and you want their job. And so I go, you got to lean into this. So preparation is key. He goes, okay, I got it. But I would find that like he wouldn't go to the field and do work unless his buddy came with him. I got to call AC. I got to call Nolan. I go, okay, but you got to get the work done. Yeah, I'm going to see if they're available. No, greatness is a solo job, man. And so I'm trying to get him to get this understanding, because it's what you're talking to is I think he wants to do it with somebody all the time.
Yeah.
And I go, even if you're on a football team, like you have to be great by yourself. And if you can have great individuals, you make a great team.
Yes.
So when you were going through this journey of like, you're talking to like not cheering and like needing people, like at one point I wanted to get the outside, resource to give me, but now I'm like, I'm just gonna do it in the dark and you're gonna find out later on. And I'm gonna let you talk in a second, we'll go into this. When you said a moment ago, it's like some people, they have to do this work in the dark and they come out later on great. That reminds you of like the Goggins or the Wim Hofs. These guys that you didn't know what they were doing in the background. They were just working, and all of a sudden they show up and now they have a character that it's magnetic for people.
Yeah.
So how did you kind of come to find this to be, and then how have you anchored down even more on that? Because I think people, they don't realize that's the key. I think that's the path to it all. Like you pulled out something that's beautiful. I want you to unpack that more from a stance of like, what does it look like for someone to do it without cheers and even with ridicule possibly?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And I think that one of the first things to understand is oftentimes, especially now with social media, our world is so noisy. We have so much external coming at us that most people have never actually taken a moment to sit with themselves in their own thoughts without their phone, without a TV, and sit like a psychopath. It's probably what people make them think. And go out to a restaurant by themselves or a coffee shop by themselves and spend an hour on deciding what your life you want it to look like. And I think because of that lack, that we don't do that, our life ends up becoming whoever it is that you're around. If you happen to be around great people, you might do great things, but if you're not, the chances are you won't. So for me, one, I'm an only child. So I am really great at being alone. I'm also really great at going in because I had to. And if you haven't been forced to do that, that's actually pretty good. You might have had a decent childhood. But you might need to force yourself to do that. Like, take time to ideate, take time to plan, take time to decide how you want your life to look like. And if you feel like you're always trying to wait for somebody else to do it with you, you will never achieve the greatest result that you can accomplish for your life, because you're always waiting for that external, and you're going to continually perpetuate that as you continue to grow and do new things. So I think it's important that you have to force it. It's like anything. If you want to be a great athlete, Tiger Woods was always going out and hitting more balls than everybody else. Like, I'm not even a big sports person, and I know that, right? Tom Brady,
Michael Phelps,
Kobe was in the gym before anybody else and after anybody else. Did he want to do that? Did he leave that to chance? No, he forced himself in there. So whatever it is, if you want to be a great parent, a great spouse, have a great business, develop a great net worth, you have to take the time to pause and get with yourself and be okay with who you are. And if you're not okay with who you are, this is where I think people miss. They don't actually want to spend time with themselves because they aren't happy with who they are.
So drink it away, drug it away. Yeah.
Exactly. Any addiction, any distraction, whatever they can do. If that's you, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but get help so that you can be okay with who you are. And if you're not okay with who you are, guess what? You're the person that can change it. So change the person that you are so that you want to sit with yourself and ask yourself these questions and ideate. I, every single month, set time for ideation. I literally set time for myself on my calendar. I do it with all of my financials, and I set time. I go to a resort, a coffee shop, my favorite places, grab a glass of wine, depending on what your thing, and I sit and I review, and I have nobody else other than the server that comes over to me that I conversate with. And I start to look at what's the next quarter of my life look like? What's the next year of my life? Because, man, I'll tell you one thing, after 40, time goes so fast, so fast.
I get it. Yeah.
That it's like we have to be intentional. And the one thing, just doing all the work too that I do with businesses, the one thing that makes a difference, there's 3 key factors that makes a business successful or fail. The very first one is intentionality. If you are not intentional with your business, your life, who you are as a person, and you're not okay to do the work to get there, unfortunately, you're never going to create the life that you want.
agree.
And all you're doing now is you're setting yourself up in this pattern that you say you want something, but you're not actually disciplined enough to get it, and then you're going to feel like a failure, and then you're going to feel guilt and shame. But the beautiful part is you can just drop that rope and choose again and go do something different. If you want a different result, make different decisions, different habits, different reality.
Yeah, that's it. You just lock back in. It's the same thing of like your life responds to effort, man.
Yeah.
And I also, as I'm hearing this, I'm like, okay, I don't want to misconstrue that kind of concept. While we're talking about do it alone, there are people that I have as sounding boards.
Yeah.
Right, like you had that women's group, right?
Yeah, of course.
So we're not saying to go out into the world and just, hey, just lock yourself in a room and never talk to anybody,
Yes.
right? It's like, it's periods of time. Even then, like I said, in amazing groups of great colleagues and amazing friends who you know. And even then, it's like the way that I look at it is all of us go to the dark. The reason we are friends because we all do that.
Yeah.
We all have a seat at the table. We've earned a seat at the table. So the problems we can talk to, like I know very well if you have or have not done the work, you know, whether it's business work or understanding the conversation, but that's how you get removed from those rooms. But the cool thing is when you've done it and I see that, I know how hard it was for you because I did the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, come hang out.
Yeah, and that, I'll tell you what, I think it's discernment. And unfortunately, discernment isn't something that you can teach. It has to be developed.
Yeah.
But you'll never develop it if you don't actually do the work alone.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you'll get into rooms with other people, and you'll think that their path needs to be your path. And that is something I fell into at different periods of my life. I would be around other people that were super successful or accomplished, maybe one chapter ahead than where I was at that time. And I would think that I needed to do it their way. And I'll tell you what, Anthony, any single time in my life that I did not listen to my instinct and I tried to overpower with my intellect of what somebody else would do of a shortcut, it was painful. So for me, I would rather do the solo work, do it in the dark. I don't talk about something I'm going to do. I just do it, and then I tell you after it's done.
Yeah.
Totally different type of energy, but that's the only way you can get clarity. Otherwise, you will get pulled into every single shiny object that comes your way. So having those boundaries and guardrails around your mind and your time and your focus is the only thing that's going to pay dividends in your
I
life.
agree. I mean, it's tough because all I can do is agree with this. You know what I mean? It's like once, like, let me add something. Like, there's nothing to add. It's like I genuinely agree, and until somebody does this, it's hard for me to actually grasp.
Yeah.
When you do that, you go like, oh yeah, That makes complete sense.
And people want some hack. They want some shiny.
There isn't, yeah.
There isn't one. Like it's the like even in business and in finance, it's the boring stuff that pays dividends. You can go into some event that's going to pump you up and motivate you, inspire you, but if you leave the room and you don't do anything with it, your life isn't going to change.
Exactly.
Nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
So it's all this boring stuff that people say. It's like, no, you got to do it, but I promise you, if you do it, it's worth it.
Yeah, the boring creates the excitement. Like to say here, hang out with you and talk about. We're going to pull up your book here if you don't mind. But yeah, like that's the kind of stuff. The boring stuff that's consistent in the background. It creates the space for time, for income, to have freedom to do what I want. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I do want to. Your book you got here floating around because we haven't covered it and talked about it at all.
Move in a cape? I don't even know.
I think it's out now.
Yes. So October 8th, depending on when they are viewing it.
Yeah.
No, 9% Edge.
9% Edge.
Talk about the dark work.
Yeah.
I did an insane amount of research. Nobody knew that I was writing this book.
Oh, really?
I literally went offline, turned down 38 speaking engagements because I just wanted to do the work. We researched 2,000 entrepreneurs and CEOs and to review what does it take, because the reality is 91% of all businesses will fail, which means people say, oh, it's a business. No, that's an entrepreneur with a family and dreams that just failed.
Yeah.
Can we architect what makes the 9% difference to give people the edge to become successful in their business and their life? And the answer is yes. So this whole book is just how to create more revenue in your business, how to take more profit out so you can create additional assets, and how to create more freedom.
Beautiful. I think that's really when people get into business, that's what the key is.
That's
like I
what
think everybody thinks it's like, oh, Ferraris and Bentleys and craziness, which those are kind of nice ththings.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with them. But really what I enjoy is like I could do whatever the heck I want.
Yeah.
I just have control. Like, and my level of life is like I'm in that 9%. Somehow my first business did. I think it's part of the humanity of me. Like I sold the first one at like 10 years. It was good. But a lot of it was like I just do what I do.
Yeah.
Like I want to be home with my kids. I want to go and do things at the park. And I don't need to be on every single stage under the sun.
Right.
But that's my own thing.
Well, 68% of all people who start a business want to start a business, what we call the freedom flexibility triad.
Yeah.
So they want to start it for freedom and flexibility and fulfillment, but they end up in a cage with golden handcuffs and they can't even go to Target on a Tuesday.
Right.
So, but it doesn't have to be that way. It's all with intentionality, strategic planning, and understanding the boring stuff, but the numbers in your business, and not being pulled into, there are 6 different entrepreneurial landmines that really trip people up. Shiny object syndrome is one of them. Not getting pulled into these things that are derailing you from your dreams.
I love it. So who's this book specifically for? Is it for all entrepreneurs? Anybody thinking about it?
It's really for all entrepreneurs. If somebody is just thinking of starting a business, it might be a little advanced. However, it's going to give you the framework and the foundation to really lay the tracks. Because here's the thing, in construction, we have codes and we have all of these different, societies with our governments that make sure that we do things right, and architectural plans. Nobody does that in our business. So you can just go out, lay a slab, start building a house, and then just lay another footer on top of your roof, and nobody's going to say anything. When you intentionally build a business, you can become part of that 9% that sets you up for success, but also has more time and freedom for your family. I think that's what everybody is after, and unfortunately, they typically miss the mark, and then either walk away or the business fails and they end up go back to a job.
I agree. I have a lot of friends that have come and gone, and it's tough because there's only so
tough.
much I can do.
Yeah.
But I love what you're talking about, because even if it's above your head, at least you know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Which gives you a chance to be later on go like, oh, I have heard of that. And
Yeah,
then
it's like,
research it
oh,
more.
wait, yes.
Yeah, it's a
or
good
let me
thing.
reference that. So yeah.
Where can someone go? All bookstores?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or they can go to 9percentedge.com, either the number 9 or spelled it out, and we have all kind of bonuses
Good. There you go. And grab all the URLs.
Yes.
Good job. It's almost like you know how business works. It's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one final question. This is one that I don't always ask people, but I feel like it's going to be a good one for you. Last question is, what promise did God make to the world when he created you?
Wow, I was not ready for that. That's a great question. Anthony, I think I've been through a lot in life, and I know you have too. And I specifically think God did that. As hard as it is to understand that our pain is also for a purpose, I think that so much of what we go through is to show other people that they can get through it too. Mm-hmm. And so I think for me, it's more about minimizing suffering, trying to show people that anything is possible, and that you are not a product of your circumstances, your environment, or even your decisions. Like, you are a product of the God who made you, and that there is a calling on your life, and it is up to you to find out what that calling is and to go out and live it. And I think that my time and my days on earth are best served when I can help other people and I can end suffering and I can just remind people of who they are in God's eyes and not sometimes in our own eyes.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. I've actually had a blast talking to you.
This was great.
I didn't think I wouldn't. It was good. It was a fun time.
It's great.
Where can I send people, again, to the book, but also just to go see you?
Yeah, candyvalentino.com, Candy Valentino everywhere, 9percentedge.com, all the stuff. Thanks so much for having me. This was great.
It was a good time. I enjoyed it. You guys are tuned in, hanging out. Thank you so much for being here. You could have been anywhere. You could have been watching cat videos for all we know. But you chose to come hang out with us. We appreciate this. But I'm going to tell you this. At the end of the day, these are all conversations. The way they become beneficial to your life is because you do something from what you hear. If you've been sitting on the fence or you kind of been playing with an idea of it, move in the direction of it. It just takes one step to figure out what the next one is. I heard one time that when you start a journey into a forest, like you just need a flashlight. You go like, I got to see all the way through it. No, you don't. You just need to see 2 steps in front of you and take each step. So take the step. Make sure you head to all her sites. Go get this book. Also, if you have not yet done this, go to darkwork.com. Take the dark work assessment because we just unpacked Candy's personal dark work experience, which has allowed her to be who she is. And maybe it's time for you to go through your own experience. Outside of that, thank you again so much for hanging out. Thank you for being here. And man, make sure you do that dark work so you can shine in the light. Anthony Trucks and Candy Valentino signing off.